Hello, Big Ear family, and welcome to this edition of your training course. And in this video, I'm going to teach you how to make impressions. And now this is a personal favorite of mine because if you watch the solid earplug making video, it is involved. It's something that you have to develop a whole bunch of skill sets. You got to develop the care of the person. You have to develop the impression making process. Then you have to develop the finishing process. So those are all skill sets that you're going to have to develop. I love impression taking because it's extremely fast and you can get a lot done in a very short amount of time once you get good at these skills that you're about to learn. The earplug making process is a little bit more involved, and this one here, making impressions, is a little bit less steps because the full finishing process of these is to put the name, the email address, shipping number, and telephone number on a little note card, put it into a baggie with the impressions, and then send them back to us. That's as involved as the impression making process gets. So what I'm going to start here with is I'm just going to go through the steps of making a set of impressions. So say you make a sale, I send you a sale, you're at a show, you're at an event, and somebody wants a set of impressions. Well, with these impressions that I'm about to show you how to make right now, you can use them for the lab-generated solid earplug, the lab-generated super soft earplug, the one, all of our custom headphones or custom earphones. You can use them for every single adapter piece that we sell. You can use them for everything that is lab generated. You just have to make the impressions. And if you have enough material that you've ordered in your kit and somebody would like to order 2 sets, so they want to get, for instance, a set of the ones, and then they also like to get a set of headphones, take 2 impressions and send both impressions to us. Because we use different labs, we'll send one set of impressions to one lab to be built for a set of the headphones, and another set of impressions to be built at another lab for the one or for any of the lab generated earplugs that we offer. That's a pro tip there just right off the bat. Just before we get started, I'm very experienced at this. I've done impressions like this in any environment you can possibly think of. I've done it outside in crazy environments. I've done it inside of massive industrial facilities at Gulfstream Jets, Michelin tires. I've done it at Boeing, at Sealed Air. I've done it on the side of the road. I've done it anywhere you can kind of imagine where you could possibly make a set of impressions, and I have a lot of experience doing this. It's not going to be this simple the first time you do it, and don't expect it to be. That's the biggest thing. You want to get comfortable with this. This is an art form. This is a craft. And when I'm meeting new providers and I'm getting them involved in this, unless they're really experienced in the medical field, say you're a nurse or a doctor or even a dentist, handling all of these components is a little bit of a learning curve. As you keep refining your skill set, you will find that it gets easier as you go. You just have to stick with it. Without any further ado, without any more preamble, let's get started on making a set of impressions for Munch. Step number 1, you got to make the sale. That's the most important part of this because without a customer, you can't make a set of impressions. Now, I'm going to do everything in my power to send you customers, but you got to go out in the world and you got to go get your hands dirty. You got to go get customers. You got to earn customers. You got to go make yourself available. Go out and post on Facebook. Go do a local group, go do gun shows, go do motorcycle shows, go do anything you possibly can to try and sell your products. And once you make that first sale, your confidence will rise and you'll feel more comfortable and you got first blood out of the way. And no matter what you do at any shows, at any kind of event, first blood is always the most important thing. So getting that out of the way as fast as possible is the best thing. I will make a separate video to show you how I do it at industrial facilities. For this will be just one set of impressions, and we'll take it nice and slow. And I will treat this as the very first set of impressions that you ever make. So I'm gonna go nice and slow. We're gonna break it down. So that's step number 1, gotta make the sale, gotta get the customer in the seat. Step number 2, after you've gotten the customer in the seat, is filling out the invoice. That is the most important part because it is a medical screening. It is a release. It does not hold you liable if anything does happen. They must fill that out before you approach them and even get in their bubble. Have them fill out that invoice. That is so essential to this process. Make sure they fill that out before you even get close to them. Burn that into your brain right now before you've done any sets of impressions. Sell it, invoice, then step number 3, which is inspecting your customer's ears. You gotta make sure that you can make the impressions. And what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean is you gotta make sure that there's nothing impeding the impression making process. So I'm gonna take a look in Munch's ear here. And what we're looking for is any kind of excessive earwax. We're looking for any kind of earwax that is hardened up and has created a block in the ear. We're looking for any kind of creatures. We're looking for any kind of thing, animals, funky aliens, any kind of dirt, debris, anything that can impede the impression making process. And so we look in that ear looks good. I'm gonna take a look in the other ear here. So both ears check out. Now, depends where you're at. Different groups of people are gonna have different types of earwax, different amounts of earwax. If the earwax is excessive, I would recommend sending it to a doctor or getting an ear flushing kit, and they can flush it out and then they can come back to you and make it. Regarding when and when not to make an impression, you're always better safe than sorry. Everybody's different in their comfort level, and if you're not a doctor, if you're not an ear doctor, always stay on the side of caution. And you look in there and it's just too much wax, or they have a hard block of wax in there, you just send them to a doctor, send them to an ear doctor, or send them to get an ear flushing kit, and then you can always reschedule to make the impressions. Always be safe than sorry. Munch's ears are nice and clean. We're gonna move on to setting the ODO block. Step number 4, sizing the ODO blocks. As you will find out, everybody's ears are completely different. They are like the fingerprint. No two are alike. So you will be getting different size ODO blocks, but how do you choose? That's what this is for. When you look inside their ear, you are, along with medically screening their ear, you're sizing the ear up for an ODO block. Munch's ears, I'm going to go with the medium, and I'm going to be safe because I will always recommend to you as you're starting out to err on the side of caution. If you size it up and you do not know, always be cautious, because making a set of impressions too short is always better than having what we call a blow by, which is too long and it can touch on the eardrum and cause some pain and discomfort for your customer. So treat them with respect. Make sure that you take good care of them and make sure that you have their best interests in mind, and don't rush through this process. If you have to double check their ear to really resize it. You take another look at it, you inspect it one more time, just go back through it and take a look at your ODO blocks. This is gonna be able to fit in here. Munch's is a medium, so we're gonna use the medium. I recommend having all of your tools out in front of you on the table so you're not having to reach for things when your customer's in the booth. Set up all your gear, set up all your equipment, and have it laid out in front of you so you can just reach and go for things and you're not having to fumble. It will, first of all, allow the person to be a little bit more comfortable. They're going to look at you as a professional because you've laid out all your stuff and you're ready to go. You're not rushing. You're nice and patient and you do what you do. Step 5 is putting the mineral oil on the tip of the ODO block. When you're putting this foreign object in somebody's ear, there is always an inherent risk. When you put the mineral oil, if anything does happen with the tip of this ODO block here, if it has a lubricated surface on it, it's going to make it much easier to extract and to remove. So we're gonna put a dot of mineral oil right here on the tip of each ODO block. You don't need a lot, just enough. And because the ODO block is porous, it's going to absorb into the ODO block, and then it's gonna make the insertion process and removal process much smoother. It's not just an uncomfortable foam thing jammed in the side of the head. It's a lubricated piece of material that is going to go in and come out a lot easier. Step 6 is inserting the ODO block into the ear. So you're going to get your ear light, make sure, turn your light on, hold up the ODO block to the ear, place it into the ear canal, use the tip of the ear light to press it in to the ear. We're gonna move on to the other ear. We're going to press it into the ear canal. We're going to use the tip of the ear light. We're gonna press that into there. There we go. So the next step of the process, step 8, is actually making the impression. So you're gonna have your impression gun here. What we're gonna use here, we're going to use our Sani press, and this is a brand spanking new Sani press, and to not get it confused with the Sani cast, think impression, press. Sani press, there's press in it, that's how you make an impression. And the other tip on this is not to confuse this with the teal colored Sani cast, which is what you'll make solid earplugs that are made on site out of. So what we're gonna do, with a brand new one here, we're going to get our impression gun, a nice pretty impression gun here. You're going to line up the teeth here. As you can see here, you'll be able to line up the teeth on the impression gun, load it up like so, press it in. Then close the top latch. The next step is to take off this little pink stopper. This is going to make sure that your impression material doesn't dry out. What I do and what you can do is after you make a set of impressions, you can leave this on, because you can leave what's left of the Sani press in here fully dry, and it will work as a stopper on there. So the next step is putting the tip onto the sani press. So what you're gonna do is you're going to line up this notch here, this little notch on the top there, with the notch on the sani press container. So make sure you line that up right here. Get that locked in like that. Then the most crucial part of this is to twist and lock it. So we're gonna show that one more time. Show it from this angle. You're going to twist and lock that. You're gonna make sure that that locking mechanism clicks into the top of the sani press. Now, we have a loaded gun. This is ready to go. You wanna make sure that the back of the impression gun is pressed all the way forward. You don't wanna let any kind of air bubbles in there because it can kind of pop in the ear and cause a little bit of discomfort. Then what we're gonna do, we're gonna make the set of impressions. So the biggest thing, and this is universal, make sure you have a wide base, because no matter where you're at, if you're in a bizarre location, if you're at a tight, cramped location, if somebody bumps you, you do not want to make a permanent ear hole in the side of somebody's head. Don't do it. Have a strong base, an athletic stance. Be ready for your environment to change. Be ready for somebody to walk in the door. Be ready for somebody to start saying something, distract this person. He moves and it just can get really out of hand really quickly. So always prepare for the worst. I've had everything that could go wrong. And the biggest thing was I was prepared for it and I stayed calm. I didn't panic. I didn't panic my customer. I stayed calm in the environment, in the situation. And that is the very best thing you can ever do if anything does go wrong, is just to stay calm. You can handle it so much better if your nerves and your internal emotions are cool, calm, and collected, rather than frantic and out of control, because then you just continue to make mistakes and they'll compound, and then when you could have salvaged a bad situation, you just lose the sale because you give up. Don't let the mistake or anything happen compound on you. Stay calm, take a deep breath, and continue. Make sure that that is pressed all the way forward. I always like to press here, and this is another point. I always like to press it almost up to the tip before I insert it, so there's not a whole lot of squeezing and it already gets the gun loaded. And I insert the tip into the ear, and then I squeeze. And I squeeze fluid, calm, collected, and under control. And you fill up the entire ear canal into the ear bowl, fill up the entire ear. And then you stick, and this is another pro tip, you stick the end of the gun back into the material when it's come out into the ear bowl, and you squeeze, and it's gonna fill up any kind of air pockets that you may have left. Now we're gonna move on over to the second ear. We're going to press the impression material into the ear here. We're going to squeeze firm, but not hard. And you're going to do a smooth squeeze all the way out. Stick the tip back into the impression material, squeeze once more. Make sure to go all the way up into the tragal notch and fill out the remaining holes and air pockets that can develop inside the impression material in the ear. What it's going to allow you to do, and it may look excess like on this ear, same with this ear, it may look like I use a lot of excess, but what it allows me to do is to ensure that I fill every little air pocket, every little crevice of the ear, and make sure that I'm not underfilling it, and then when I pull it out, I have little air pockets in there. That's not good. You don't want to have air pockets. You want to make sure you got deep in the ear canal. You want to make sure that you made a great set of impressions. Because this is going to be your first one, take your time. The next step is we're going to take these out. When you take it out, you want to make sure the most important thing you can possibly do is make this person feel comfortable. So what I do is I just gently tap them on the shoulder. I get their attention. I always break the seal with the top of my thumb. I put the pointer finger on the top of the ear and I place the thumb inside the crevice between the impression material and their ear, and I break the seal on the top. I then twist forward and out of the side of their head. This is a great impression here. As you can tell here, see how we've made a really nice full impression of the ear, and there's no air pockets in there. It's a really nice impression. This ear impression will be able to be used. And then I repeat the same thing on the other side of the ear. I break the seal, and then I twist forward and out, and that is how you make a set of impressions and remove a set of impressions. Same thing on this guy here. Another great impression. Perfect impression of his ear. I did use excess material, as you can see here, a lot of excess material, but because I stuck the tip of the gun into the impression material, I was able to get a perfect impression, and that's what you're going for. You're not trying to make this pretty. You're trying to get a great impression. When you do earplugs, that's what you're trying to make pretty. Do it as pretty as you possibly can. When you're making impressions, make sure you get a good impression, a nice deep impression, and a full ear bowl. Even up into the tragus notch, you're gonna make sure that you are going to get a great set of impressions, because if it's not good, it's not gonna fit, it's gonna be uncomfortable, and then you're gonna have to do this process all over again. So make sure that you do a very, very good job in attention to detail when you're making impressions. So that's that there. The final step is to have them fill out a note card. And now there's different times where you can do this. I personally like doing it while they're seated in the chair with the impression material in their ear. You could do it before. You could have them, if you're really trying to save time, you have them on this note card, you have them put their first and last name, shipping address, telephone number, email. You put the impressions in the baggie. After you've had them fill out the card, you can do it before, you can do it during, you can do it after the impression taking process, whichever one you feel most comfortable with. You put that into the baggie, zip it up, send this to us, and you're done. And that's it. That's the impression making process. It's a whole bunch of steps. There's a whole bunch of things that are involved in this. But the most important part of it is making sure that the person is comfortable, making sure that you keep them comfortable through this entire process, because it's an involved process. It's something that it looks simple on the outside, but making impressions consists of a lot of different steps. So you got to make sure that you're taking your time, you're being patient, you are being firm, but you're also being gentle, and you're caring about the person in your chair. First of all, because they're your customer. Second of all, you're taking care of their body. This is their vessel. They only have 2 ears, so they're very important. You're taking care of that. And then third of all, they're going to give you money. So you want to make sure that they have a great experience and that they'll come back for more. They'll tell their friends about it. The first times that you do it, you want to make sure that you have attention to detail and that you're comfortable doing this. So that's the impression making process. If you got confused, if you aren't able to really understand this, call me. My number will come up right here, or you can send me an email. It's going to come up underneath it right here, and we can have a conversation. I want to make sure you're as successful as possible with this, because this is the foundation of our business. This is where all of your money is going to be coming from, is from the impressions and from earplugs. It's what it is. So if you can learn these skills, you can get really good at this, you're going to be able to have a lucrative career with big ear, and you're going to have fun with this because you get excited when you get to make impressions. You're not going to get worried or nervous. And that's the most fun thing about this business, is you get to meet different people, you get to make impressions in really cool places, and you can enjoy the experience and you can learn a lot. And that's what I really love about doing this. It takes time to understand this process, but once you do, it will be the backbone of your business. So I recommend getting really good at the impression taking process. It's an art form, learn it. I want to thank you. If you have any questions, like I said, send me an email, or you can text me or call me, anything like that. And go out there and practice and learn this. And I look forward to seeing you out there, and I will hear you later.